Hello, everyone, and welcome to our homeschool roundtable call. My name is Jen, and I'm so excited to be here with you today, whether you're joining live or you're listening to the replay. I've been praying for each one of you for this past month leading up to the call, and I guess my hope and my goal for this year is for this to be a safe place where we can share about our children and just about some of the struggles that we've had and some of the ways that we can encourage each other. I hope this call blesses you. As I was praying about what to share and meeting with Crystal throughout this past month, I kind of went back and forth on how I wanted to start this call. And I just wanted to start by saying that I feel so privileged to be able to be here. When I first started with the Rooted Cafe, I had absolutely no fellowship, no discipleship, and I felt very lost as a mother. And this has been a place for me to just get involved and just to love these other ladies and have them love me back and encourage me to be obedient. And so I really hope that this year blesses you and your children and their children. And I know that is a huge goal, but I feel like as mothers, that's a goal that we're supposed to have, right? That's written in our hearts. And so and the time that I get to spend with you over the next couple of months and over this year, like I said, I want it to be a safe place for us to get to know each other as I share resources with you. So I know that there are going to be a lot of women that come and share and fellowship that are more seasoned than I am, that have been homeschooling longer than I am. But I have to say that my heart is to bring you exactly what the Spirit is telling me. And I want to do that in collaboration with you. And I'm willing to learn alongside you. And I think that's why it's going to be really exciting. So as Crystal always says, my boots are in the ground and I am doing it. And I feel privileged to not only be here, but to get to serve my children in the home. So as far as our calls go, they're going to be every Tuesday, the second Tuesday of every month at 11 o'clock Eastern time. So if you have a specific topic or something that you would like to share, or for me to get some resources and share with you, I would love for you to message me on Band. You can look me up. It's Jen Gorski. And I will make sure that we chat about it, whether it's on a recorded call or if we talk about it after the call's over. I really want to be someone where you could reach out to and that we could fellowship with topics that we all feel really passionate about. And if you're the person that's showing up here each month, then I definitely want this to be a place where you're getting fed. So please reach out to me if you have a specific topic or something that you're excited that you would want a roundtable about. This is a roundtable. And so it's my job to bring you the resources and the information, but ultimately it's going to be this back and forth of us talking and fellowshipping together. That's going to be the fruit. So I'm really excited. Another thing I'm looking forward to is being able to bring in guest speakers. Because I'm new in my homeschooling journey, I would love to get more seasoned moms, homeschooling moms to come in and share their experiences with us. And so you can definitely look forward to that, uh, as well as a lot of different surprises that I've been thinking about and just pulling different people's talents into these calls. I think that's where we're going to see the most fruit. The last thing I wanted to share is that I also want to be referencing other calls. So throughout each month, I'm going to be referencing calls that the Rooted Cafe has previously recorded from other instructors. That way you can utilize the website and you can be reminded of these calls. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly and show you exactly where you can find the Homeschooling Summit. I attended the last Homeschooling Summit in 2022. And it was the Torah. I'm going to show you right now. Let me share my screen. Okay. So if you go to your login page, and then you always want to click your picture and make sure you're in the library, and that's where all of your courses are going to pop up. And even now, I've been in the Rooted Cafe almost a year, and I still have to be reminded of where all the classes are. But once you get the hang of it and you kind of navigate the website, um, it's really easy and you'll be able to find where the different calls are. Now, of course, I go back and I re-listen to calls. So if you go down, you'll see it's going to be two women with thumbs up, and you're going to want to click it. This is your summit and conference portal. And if you click that, you're going to have all the different conferences that are available to us. And this is such a blessing because I feel that, as moms, it's really hard for us to get chunks of information in one sitting. So being able to access this, especially these homeschool calls, it's going to be really, you're going to see so much growth. So you have to go all the way down. So there's two of them. There's one that happened in 2021, which is the Homeschool Summit. I have not had a chance to listen to that or even dive into that yet. I'm still kind of processing all of the information and the wonderful speakers um, from this past one. So, okay, if you go down, I think it's one of the last conferences, you'll see it's going to be the Torah Homeschooling Summit, Raise Them Up, a Torah Homeschooling Summit. I just went back last night, the night before, kind of just re-listening to some of the key points that I wanted to bring in. But then the more I thought about it, I really want to reference you to these calls and to these conferences. So my advice to you would be to go in when you have little tidbits of time and take it piece by piece. Like I said, I sat in it live, but I think it's really beneficial as you start your homeschooling journey, or even if you're in the middle of it, or you've been homeschooling for 25 years, a lot of this information it's awesome. So, okay. So I'm gonna come back here. Can you see me again? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So before I kind of go into what I wanted to share about, which is the laws of homeschooling, I wanted to start by sharing a little bit about myself and how I ended up as a homeschool mom, because I feel like this is really going to set the stage of where I want to take you guys today on this journey. So I grew up in a house with parents who were both police officers, and my mom worked really hard for our family. She was a working woman, and every time we sat at the table and ate together, when she put us to bed, we were always reminded of how hard she worked for our family. And that was always in my head. Like, I want to be a good mom. I'm going to work hard for my family. And so I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. So I just put the two of them together. Like, I'm going to get a job, go to school, go to college, get a job, provide for my family. And because I always wanted to be a mom, I always talked about being a mom. And I would always play house and teacher, like I'm sure so much of us moms do. And as women, I know that from a very early age, we want to do those things. And so because I always was doing those things, my family would always say to me, "Oh, you would be a really great teacher, Jen. I think you would be great in the classroom." Instead of maybe tapping into, yes, of course you want it, you're teaching and you're playing house, because those are the things that the Father instilled in your heart already. So the time came and I wanted to be an event planner, but I chose to be a teacher because I loved kids. And I got my master's in education, special education. I mentored adults with special needs. And then I worked in a variety of schools, in low income schools in New York City. And I realized I did not like teaching other people's kids at all. It was draining. There was absolutely no freedom. And I was like short tempered all the time. Not to say that I'm the perfect mom by any means now, but there's something about parenting your own children and trying to teach within the state law, that is exhausting. And so that was really hard for me to say that I actually really don't like teaching, but I'm still going to be a really good mom one day. So I think that was for me the first shift of what I thought I was going to be like as a mom into where I am today. And so fast forward, I have four boys. I'm a special needs mom, a medical mom, a twin mom through adoption. And then when we brought our first son into the world, my husband and I had this idea that we didn't like what the world was doing. We had no biblical foundation at this time, but we knew we wanted to step away from what the worldly way to parent. And we wanted to be parents that were raising up children that looked differently. But like I said, we have no biblical foundation. So to us, that meant no plastic toys, no battery operated toys, only eating purely organic, vegan. Um, and so those were the things I set my mind to. I'm like, wow, I can do this. I can be a mom that's setting myself apart and giving my child everything that the kid next door doesn't have. So I had a huge mental shift when we adopted our first son. I thought I had it in the bag. I thought this is it, right? I'm going to be out there. I wanted to be a public speaker. I was going to go out there and write books about parenting kids in the natural. And we adopted our first son, our second son, and he has a lot of trauma. He has autism. He was in heart failure when we adopted him. We adopted him at the age of 3. And when he came into our family, he only ate hot dogs and candy. And he didn't want anything to do with crayons, any abstract thinking. He was not having it. He wanted battery operated toys, cause and effect, and he wanted candy and hot dogs. And I really was saddened by my reaction, the guilt and shame I felt from parenting in a way that I thought I had it and I didn't have anything. Once again, I had no foundation. And so everything else leading up to it was, I felt destroyed. So once again, I shifted my identity. It was extremely unsettling to me. Now I was inviting people in, and I was supposed to be, at this time, I started, my husband and I started reading the Bible together. We started praying together because we were desperate. That's how I met the Father. And I was sad because I thought that was going to be it. I thought I would just be saved and everything would have been fine. Um, when he was in the ICU and he was really struggling and he was in a coma, that's when it clicked to me that this is not my identity. So from then on, I searched for my identity and I went back to what was comforting to me and what was known. And that was what I was raised in. That was my mother providing for me. So once our son was medically or stable, I decided to start my own business. And I was like, this is going to be it. I'm going to start my own network marketing business and I'm going to provide for my family so I can feel worthy of being home with them. And I started it and I succeeded and I laid it before the Father and he told me to quit. And I went to my husband and I was like, babe, I'm really sorry, but the Father is telling me that I need to pull back. And he was like, Jen, no problem. So this is where I knew that, why am I so saddened by not having an identity? And that's because I wasn't obedient. I wasn't praying. Therefore, I wasn't hearing the Father and I couldn't get convicted. So all of that together was just leading me into this identity crisis of who am I? Who am I as a mom, a wife? Um, am I hearing him correctly? And so at that time, my husband and I sat down and we knew we needed to get into the word. We needed to pray together and we needed to start stepping away from earthly ways and just start basically doing what Yeshua did when he walked the earth and stop listening to any outside source. And that's kind of in the beauty of it, what I wanted to do with my first son. I just didn't have any biblical knowledge. I had no mentor. I wasn't convicted of anything. So there was no joy, right? So finally, I started praying and building up this biblical foundation. And now, as I shift from different seasons of motherhood, I know that my foundation is strong. I know that even I can shift And I can be a mom today that wants to eat, I don't know, vegan, and tomorrow we're just not eating pork and shellfish. And everyone else has to be okay with that because I know where my identity lies. And I have chills because it hasn't been easy. Um, but it's been worth it. And even when I don't understand, if I'm convicted, I need to be obedient because ultimately I have messed up more times than I should. And there's so much joy in just being obedient. So this kind of leads me into the obedience and to the law. And today I'm going to start. Hold on one sec. I want to start by sharing with you where I see our vision for this upcoming year. So this past week, I was talking to a dear friend, and we were sharing about this house that we're going to be building together this upcoming year. And if you want to build a house, you need blueprints from the beginning. And so today we're going to be talking about state law versus biblical instruction and how they're different and how we can kind of push them together, but still have our strong biblical foundation. And I thought it was funny because this kind of reminded me of the story of the three little pigs, which I grew up learning. And now I'm teaching my children the foundation, like the biblical foundation, the roots, even in the creation gospel, we're learning about how important it is to have those roots. And so if you don't have a place, if you don't have a blueprint or a foundation to dwell, you're not going to be able to beautify the inside of the house. So, in the upcoming months, I want to walk alongside you because there is freedom in homeschooling and it is simple. We don't have to overcomplicate it. I'm not saying it's not hard. And I'm sure moms out there that have been doing it for way longer than me know that it's hard, but public school really is hard too. And I have been in it. I've taught in it. I put my kids in it. I've seen my family in it. And so for me, just being obedient is enough, regardless of how hard it is. And so I'm going to show you first. We're going to talk first about the state laws. And I'm going to keep this really simple because it really is that simple. When I first started homeschooling, I did what any good mom would do. I went on Facebook and I went to the Baltimore County Public School Facebook group. Homeschooling group. And I was like, hey, is there any mom that would like to Zoom with me tomorrow? And about 3 moms popped up. I looked at their pictures quick and was like, that one. And I met with her and she told me what to do. I nodded and I did it. I didn't think that there was any freedom. I just thought I was still a slave to this system. So I did what I was told. There's only one time that we should really hear and do, right? And that is when we shema in the Bible. We should never do that if another person, especially when they're not even walking in the way, tells us to do something. So I did all of these things without even looking up what the laws were for my state. So today I want to make sure that our blueprint, that our foundation is solid and that you know how to get your laws for your state. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So this is, and Kim, if you can please put this in the chat, the HSLDA website, the Homeschooling Legal Defense Association, I believe. And this is a wonderful place for you to start. So I'm going to go up here and, okay, if you go up and you just tap legal, this is what I did first when I found out about this website. I clicked it, so easy. You can click on your state or you can find your state. So I'll go down and do Maryland. And then it has, here it is, what you need to do. Now, when I first saw this website, I thought that they were out to get me. I was like, this is a website that's going to tell me I have to do all of these things, but they are for you. This website is beautiful because you can actually become a member. And I think Crystal knows more about this than I do. And maybe at the end, we can talk to her a little bit about it. But they know the rights and they will defend you, which I think is awesome. The great part too is that they have a whole special needs section on here. So if you're like me and you have a child with special needs, you can go to Teaching My Kids and click the special needs section. And whether your kid has autism or a learning disability or dyslexia, they have it here. They have the resources that you can use to say that it's not too hard, right? We know the Father equipped us because he called us. And so, regardless of the children that we have, we can do it. And it's hard, but this is something that is like this is something for the state law, and yet it's telling us how to succeed, which I think is awesome. So these are all resources that you could, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but I think it's really important for you to explore this and see everything that it has to offer. So if you go back, I wanted to show you the legal part of it. And then you can find your state again. I want to just share the wording with you that I found was really interesting. So if you go down here and then you can do view complete details, and there's a whole slideshow. See, part 1 out of 9, how to comply with Maryland's homeschool law. And there's a little video, and then you can go to the next section. Now, if you go down, I want you to be aware and take notice to some of the wording. I don't know where it is, and I don't want to make you too dizzy, but some of the wording in here is recommended, actually all of it. So it says that you have to, okay, I can't find it right now, but when you have to turn in the paperwork, if your child, if you're pulling your child out of school, I thought that you had, here it goes, how to withdraw your child from school. I thought you had to get this in immediately before you homeschool your kid, or they're going to come knocking on your door. Well, when I started looking here, it says we generally recommend. Now, yes, out of the goodness of your heart, do you want to inform the school if your child was in it? I did that because I felt bad for the teacher making all the stuff for my kid, and I called, but it's not because I had to. There's freedom in that. And so I just want you to be aware of the words that they use, because a lot of it is recommend and not this is what you have to do, or we're going to come knocking on your door. And if they do knock on your door, there's a whole part in here where if you're a member, they will share your rights and they will help advocate for your family. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I don't want to spend too much time on the state law. You can go into this as far as you want to, but I think just starting knowing the subjects you need to teach, what's required. More than that, I think me personally concentrating on the biblical instruction has been really powerful getting my homeschooling journey started. Okay, so as far as biblical instruction goes, I have a little PowerPoint that I want to share with you. And okay. Okay. So if you can't see this, please put in the chat, but I'm pretty sure you can hear me and you can see it. So this is where I get really excited, because this is what made me say yes to homeschooling. The biblical instruction, I'm going to use biblical instruction, even though we know it's the law, but state law and biblical instruction, so we can just differentiate between the two and we can get a better understanding so we're not getting them confused. Okay, so is there homeschooling in the Bible? Does the Bible say you shall homeschool your child? Or is the word homeschool ever written in the Bible? No, we know that it's not. You can test that for yourself, but I'm pretty confident it is not in the Bible. So what is in the Bible that we can say it still applies to modern day? And that would be figuring out words that relate to school, homeschool, or just learning or teaching in general. And some of those verbs are to teach, instruct, train, tell, nurture, discipline, raise up, and train up. So when you're reading your Bible, what I started doing is I have like a pink highlighter and I'm highlighting every time I see these words. I'm understanding the context that it comes with. But I think it's really cool that we get to see all of these words in our Bibles coming alive to us, right? It's living word. We see it. It's new to our eyes every day. And it's going to help us actually do the things that we're supposed to do with our children. And so, two of the things that stuck out to me as I was praying about today was the word disciple. Now, we know that Yeshua did not just tell his disciples to be a light of the world without instruction. And it says, right, come and follow me, I will make you fishers of men. We are all very familiar with Matthew 4:19. And we know that he equipped them and then he released them. He made them something that they were not before sending them out in the world to be a light. I feel like for me, when I was going back and forth about homeschooling, so many people said to me, well, your child, your children, oh, Jen, they're so beautiful. They have the servant's heart. You should put them in public school so they can shine. And I believed that for a while until I said, well, if Yeshua didn't even send out his disciples to be a light because they weren't taught, that would be like, why am I even doing that to my own children? Why am I putting my children on the battlefield without even equipping them? And so I think we have it backwards where we're told to put our kids in school and then pull them out. Well, I'm sorry. And then when they're out, they could be a light to the world instead of equipping them and then putting them out and letting them create disciples, just like Yeshua did with his disciples. So that was really, that to me, when I read that, I'm passionate about that. And a lot of people that you meet may not be overly confident with the Old Testament, but they know the gospel. Christians in the church I used to go to would quote Matthew more than anything, right? The gospels. And so now I just keep it short. And that's a really good way for me to just explain it to people. Not that I have to, but even to my family and my friends that are in church that are questioning, it's just short. And to me, it makes a lot of sense. Also, the raise up and the train up to me this has also been really beautiful to see. So often, like I said, I was told to let my children be a light, but if we see here, blessed be Adonai, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle. He is my loving kindness, my fortress, my strong tower, and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge, who subdues my people under me. So he will train not only your kids through you, but he will equip you to train them. And I felt unqualified for a very long time. Even though I was a teacher, I felt like I couldn't do it, like it was too complicated, and I never saw the true freedom. But reading this and knowing that Adonai, my rock, my God, my fortress, he's going to be the one that is equipping me because I'm called. I think that is so beautiful. And so many times in the Bible, we see people feel like they're not equipped for what God is calling them to do. But when they do it, there's so much joy in the obedience. So what is the difference? I'm sorry, I should be paying attention to the chat. Okay. What is the difference? So like I said, we have the state law and the biblical instruction. Anyone can come to learn a set of laws or rules over time, especially, growing up, things that were taught to me when I started driving. Nobody was teaching me, Jen, you have to drive slow because, there might be an elder lady in front of you and you don't want to make her upset. No, it was, Jen, you have to drive at the speed limit because you're going to get a ticket and I don't want to pay for it. Or you're going to crash the car that I just, that you're leasing, or, it was some type of fear-based situation. And that's the way that I walked into my faith when I first sat at the feet of the Father. I was fearful. And I brought that then into my parenting, and it was almost this like fear-based salvation for me because that was the way that I was taught. That's the way that my children are taught. My kid would come home from school, my son, and he would say, oh, mommy, if I don't hand this one assignment in tomorrow, I'm going to lose recess. And the assignment was it was something that wasn't even relevant. And it wasn't like he wanted to do it because he wanted to learn, but he wanted to do it because he didn't want to have the consequence. And I'm not saying that consequences are not in place for a reason. I believe that we're supposed to, you know, keep our children in line, but there is there's so much freedom in the way that we get to parent them and change their hearts, so that they're not following rules out of obligation. Yes, at the end of the night when I'm tired and it's time for my children to go to bed, I'm not working on their hearts. But there's been 100 other moments throughout the day that I get to sit face to face with them and share with them their heart, and they get to see my heart and how I'm relying fully on the Father, you know? And so, biblical instruction, we know in Deuteronomy 6, the Shema, that we are to write the commandments on our hearts. And we are to teach them to our children. We're going to teach them to their children and their children. And that doesn't stop at that, it's a generational thing. And so when I first read this, I was totally not listening because I didn't want to be convicted. So I thought, well, it's when you lie down and when you rise up. So when my son comes home, I will teach him the way, and I'll put him back in school after I teach him the way again in the morning. And I just kept seeing his heart struggle and wrestle, and my heart was struggling and wrestling, and we weren't unified as a family. And once I obeyed, that's when I found the freedom. Um, and so one of the things I wanted to share too is Philippians 2, chapter 2 through 13, when Paul writes, we see that continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. And I was often told by family that, oh, Jen, I think that's why you're homeschooling. So, you want your kids to be afraid of God so they don't make mistakes. And that actually is not ever where my heart was. And if you go into context, which we all always should do, right? But I was never taught, is that the fear and the trembling was the reverence and the respect. And it has been really hard for me personally to see it like that coming from a place where I had a fear-based salvation. But through teaching that through my children, it's shaping me to be the mom that Adonai created me to be already. And so I wanted to read this to you today. Therefore, as you received Messiah, Yeshua, as Lord, so continue to walk in him, rooted and built up in him and established in your faith, just as you were taught, overflowing with thankfulness. See that no one takes you captive through philosophy or empty deception, according to the tradition of man and the basic principles of the world, rather than Messiah. Oh, every time I read it, I even if we don't get that much work done that day, I'm reminded of this, and I'm reminding where the promise lies. And so I want to just remind you that you are fit for the job, and it is not complicated. It is simple. And that's Shema, right? The hear and the do. Over time, I was able to transform that hear and the do from other people and what they were telling me to do. And using me like a puppet and being freed from that. And now listening to the word and being able to hear and do what I was called to do from the beginning. And I think it's really cool. Even in Genesis, we see that the Father equipped Adam in his, to use him how he was created. He equipped him from the beginning, right? To rule over mankind. And we know that he has a plan for each of us as well. And so we know that the Shema, you are to teach them to your children. Speak of them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you sit down, when you are in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. We need to do this, and that it doesn't have to be as complicated as I think I've always made it. So if you're here and you're not sure, I want to just tell you from experience, it could seem overwhelming, but right here, we know that we are commanded to do it. And once we submit and just be obedient, the joy will just fill you. It will fill you. And like I said before, it wasn't just for the people of Israel. It was for your son and their son and their son, for the generations to come. Okay, so I just wanted you to remember you are fit for the job, even if like I said before, even if you're nervous, do it out of obedience because I feel the joy that you can experience from his yoke being easy and his burden being light. It will fill you. And we know where the spirit, that the Lord is the spirit, right? And where the spirit is, there is freedom. And so I wanted to leave you with that today. In the freedom, I often think of the charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And I feel like once that hit for me and once I saw the shalom in my house, it was a lot noisier and a lot chaotic, more chaotic, and there was more laundry on the floor. But the joy and the shalom that came from that, there was nothing like that, you know? And we know that God is in the midst of us and he is for us. And when the morning comes and the morning dawns, there is joy for that. And every morning is made new, regardless of how the day before went. So let's dress ourselves in strength. I want this to be encouraging to you this next month before we meet again. And I want to thank you for being here. And today we got to write our blueprint, and we'll take this month to write it on our hearts and to practice it with our children. I have a chalkboard here in my house, and so we painted a whole wall in our home, and I'll show you one day. And you know, in the beginning, I wrote all of the ways I was encouraged to love my children, the way that the Father loved me and loves me now. But I remember that when I came to know who the Father really was, I remember that feeling. And I want to show my children that I see them each individually, and I want to help them write the commandments on the heart. And the biggest way they can do that is seeing me fall. And the only way I'm able to get back up is relying on the strength of the Messiah, you know, like the grace in the Messiah and the strength of Adonai, my God. And so I'm really excited for next month because building up from that blueprint, we are going to be, I gave you a little clue about what we're going to be doing, but it's Proverbs 29:18, where I'm sorry, should it be where there is no vision, the people will perish. And I will let you know what we're going to be talking about, but I kind of want that to just sit with you for a little bit. And I just wanted to thank you again for being here and just hanging out with me today. Kim, if you can just stop the recording on this part, that would be great.